Welcome to the Craig and Greg Show, presented by Maximize Leadership. Here are Craig Owens and Greg Harris.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Craig and Greg Show. I am Craig, and this is Greg. A couple episodes ago, we were talking about the universal issue that every leader has to deal with, problems. But we want to kind of zero in a little bit because there seems to be something that is even though every leader faces problems, I think a leadership problem that is very specific is the interpersonal issues, the conflicts among people.
Yeah, and they're going to happen. And I think that's for us leaders and you all as leaders, various positions. We don't want to look for conflict, but we have to be prepared for it. Absolutely. And a number of years ago, this is not very nice to say, but one particular group I was working with and just seemed to have conflict. You can lift one rock and there's a conflict, another rock. There's a conflict just sitting dormant, ready.
Sure.
And that's kind of what happens in an organization, particularly if it's bigger.
Yep.
You can have conflict in a small family-owned business, but they're family. But when they're not family, we don't have that background or that awareness of how to approach it as easy. I like the word conflict leadership.
Yes.
Versus management. So please, kind of.
Oh, I agree, because I think conflict management, you're just trying to almost say, how can I get people into neutral corners?
Yeah.
But conflict leadership is saying, let's work this out. I like the idea, and I talked to my team about this once. I said, you're going to have, if people are working by each other and you're busy and you're moving, there's going to be friction. Most of the time, you don't even really recognize it until you get kind of that, that pebble in your shoe.
Right. Then
the friction starts to cause some pain that causes you to react in a certain way. And I think that conflict leadership is really as much proactive as it is reactive, saying, our teams are already, they're rubbing up against, things are moving. What are we going to do to make sure that we don't get a pebble in there, so we can look ahead. And then once, if there is a pebble that gets in there that is causing some discomfort, to say, not just, all right, you go to your room,
time out, everybody.
And hope that everybody calms down. And they're not going to. So let's lead through this.
I think the one part that I have seen managers, they bring the two parties together. And it's almost like a scolding. All right, you guys, you need to get along. Okay, you say what offended you, and you say it, and then it's like
shake hands and make up.
Yeah, and okay, and then go back to your respective corners and continue life. And I think leading the conflict, there's less control of it, and there's less direction to it. Like it has to go here, and then I'm going to go back to my corner office. Right. It's leading is almost a give and take and a feel it out, and they almost solve it.
Yes. Well, I would build on that. I see a lot of times managers that want to manage the conflict. It's almost like they have the script. Like, I went to the seminar, and these are the steps that I have to do.
Yeah.
Whereas, so here's what I've learned. Okay, get your pens ready.
Oh boy.
When I'm getting ready to deal with an issue with personnel, there are three things that I remind myself before I step into that meeting. Ready? Listen.
I didn't really need a pen. I didn't need a pen, did I?
Got that?
No, yeah.
Because I think that we're not trying to find a cookie cutter solution. People don't fit into boxes. They don't follow scripts. Yeah. And so we have to listen. And a lot of times when you're dealing with, if it's two people, what they say is the issue, a lot of times is not the issue. That just happens to be the symptom of a deeper issue. You're never going to get there unless you listen and you listen and you ask questions to probe a little bit. Well, wait, what did you mean by that? When did that start? How did that come about? Okay, so, and then what happened with you? And when you're listening, then I think that you begin to get down and say, oh, okay, I think I've got a better picture of this now, as opposed to management where you're not letting the people really talk. You're just saying, you did this, here's what's going to happen next. And you're going through your seminar checklist.
Right.
And a lot of times those people don't fit in those boxes.
Well, and I've learned sometimes there's triggers. You talk about the symptom. So a trigger is, silly as it is, he looked at me funny again. She's using her fake nails on the keyboard again. Okay, that's a trigger. What is it? Well, it really is he talks loud on the phone and I can't concentrate. He's back, and then I heard his chair squeak, so I know he's moving. Okay, this is getting petty. So you do have to get down to the what is that rub, that friction, that tension that can occur. But to me, leaders maybe look for out of the box solutions.
Yes.
And I think sometimes the managers, they want to get you back to the assembly line.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, we talked. We're all good, aren't we? Yeah, you look good. You're fine.
Yeah, just keep the train running.
Yeah.
We don't,
Yeah. And then, they can say, hey, no issues on the floor.
Right.
And that's not true.
Yeah. Well, what I try to do in these things is I try to get beyond those triggers and try to get to what's the value.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is most of us hold the same values in common, but the problem comes from when you are expressing that value in a different way that I'm expressing it. Okay. So like that person that is talking on the phone too loud, okay, we would both agree, we'd both have the same value that like we've got to be really good at taking care of the customer. I mean, nobody's going to argue with that. The way I take care of the customer is I'm kind of quiet, because I'm trying to bring things down. Somebody else is saying, well, the way I take care of the customer is I want to lighten things up a little bit. So I might tell a joke on the phone with them, and maybe I get a little bit loud. We have the same value. We're just expressing it different ways. And so I think that sometimes when you can come and say, okay, do you really think that by doing that they really don't want customer service? Right. No, I think they want customer service. Okay, so they're just doing it differently from you. Different doesn't necessarily mean bad. No, it just means different.
Yeah, I think leaders allow for style, personality.
Yes.
And there is, sometimes hierarchical, you've been here a long time, you're just new, whatever it is. And so you kind of work out the differences. But I do think leading through conflict versus when conflict just smacks you right in the face as a leader, and now you got to manage it.
Yes.
You're kind of scrambling.
Right.
You're going to run out of timeouts.
Yep.
Like the end of the game. And do you have a story where you saw how it was going to go and you had to apply leadership to the conflict, not direct the conflict or control it? Do you have a story where someone, they kind of found their way and then they found, hey, you know what? We did it ourselves.
Well, what I have actually found is that I'm trying to give people, I want to be as proactive as I can. So yeah, there's my learning curve has been a lot of times it has been conflict management first. And I'm like, why did that sneak up on me? Why didn't I see that coming? And then slowly you start learning. And then so now before I start see, oh, they're on paths that, they're going to hit. I want to give them tools to navigate around this. So what I started doing was I would do training with my staff, and I would teach them different things. Like we had talked before about love languages.
Yep.
I might do a training like that and say, hey, look, let's learn what our love languages are and what our teammates' love languages are.
Right.
Because if your love language is words of affirmation, but I'm bringing you a little gift, I'm not speaking your love language. But if I come by and say,
you're bribing me.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, why are you giving me this? I don't want this. Right. But when you come by and you're like giving them words, attaboy, then they're like, oh man, that's really. And so when I've done that, it gives people a language. And so what I've heard then, when I see this coming, I've heard my teammates now that because I've prepared them to say, hey, we seem to be having an issue here. And I think that it comes from the fact that I'm seeing it this way. And I realize you're seeing it this way. I'm trying to see it your way, but it's a little awkward for me. So be patient with me. And just even that acknowledgement up front helps the other person go, oh yeah, okay. There is a different way of seeing it. And what I loved is that as you do that training with your staff, the more time that goes down the road, the fewer of those conflicts that ever end up in my office,
right? Because
they're able to deal with them on their own. That to me is the essence of leadership.
Right.
I don't want to have to step in. I want you guys to be able to work it out on your own.
I think the one part that I've watched other leaders there's an apprehension to get involved.
Yes.
Almost like, parents will say, yeah, go outside and, play. And the parents are like, wow, there's bloody murder going on out there. Someone's yelling about the rules of a kickball game or something. Sure. But they don't run out there because kids have to kind of figure out how to do the kickball game. Right. You can't be a helicopter dad or mom, And I think some leaders fall back into that apprehension, like, I don't know, it's not that fun. I got my, balance sheet and income statement and revenue projections to do now. I'll let them work on it. And then as a leader, we're somewhat iced out and we don't know what kind of tensions are on the floor between people. And it often is interpersonal. It is not stuff.
Sure.
My computer's slow. I don't have those resources. I would like a better cell phone. I want the parking spot up front. It's people stuff. Yeah. And that's what gets messy.
Yep.
Because that's not really where the leader shined, right? They got the job because they had great experience. They turned a company around. They grew a company.
Sure.
It wasn't like they were a great referee.
Yep.
And I think that's a lot of referee. Like, I'm not going to fight with you, but I'm going to tell you these are the rules. These are appropriate behaviors. And then you guys,
I'd like you to work it out.
Work it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too is the being out, we've talked before about leaders that get a title, get an office, and then kind of isolate themselves, insulate themselves in that office. And then if they call employees in, it feels a little bit like being called down to the principal's office.
Yeah.
Like that you're in trouble. But when a leader is not isolated, when they're walking around all the time, when they have an open door policy, then when you say, hey, can you step in here for a second? You don't feel like, I'm going to get detention, for something. When the leader then is accessible all the time and says, hey, look, maybe like you said earlier, I kind of see something coming here that could be, and the reason why I'm coming to you is because I think that you've got the skill to be able to navigate this.
Excellent.
If you need me as a resource, come and talk to me.
Yeah.
And I've done that with some of my next level leaders where I've said, they're like, hey, we'd like you to get involved in this. No, I don't think I need to yet, but I'd like to resource you to help navigate through this thing.
Excellent.
So, but you got to be around.
The one thing for you listeners today, I have seen a lot of leaders, they really aspire for peace, like just, quiet. That doesn't really exist. If it is, and I love this quote, I'm going to read it really quick. Peace is not absence of conflict.
Right.
It is the ability to handle conflict in a peaceful manner.
Yes.
So when a leader thinks, it's no issues on the floor, well, they're there. They're just kind of hidden. Right. Another great one that I think is so funny about conflicts, 10% of conflicts are due to differences of opinion, style, but 90% of the conflict is due to a wrong approach. Right. So I had one partner who was amazing at walking around and managing by just being present, being obvious. And people loved it. Yeah. Hello, sir. Hello, young lady. How are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And that's how he managed. And if someone did bring something up, he took it under, advice and then brought it to the team. And then we handled it or whatever. I had another partner who would come up and say, we need to talk. No, we're probably not going to talk the way you started. It's either going to go really bad or I'm just going to listen and not change a thing. Right. So it was just that approach. And I think that's the part about leadership is reading, and you're really good at it. Like how to.
Yeah, I think not only, reading books so that you have skills, but I think reading people as well. And hence going back to listen. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk to people. I want to find out what's your background, where'd you come from? Because see, that helps me too when I realize, oh, you know what? Part of the conflict that they might be having here is because of a poor experience that they had before. There's an adage out there that most people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses. Mm-hmm. And so they've had a poor experience somewhere, and now they bring that with them. They can't, you can't just leave it behind. No. But if I've talked to them, if I'm engaging them and I'm listening, I'm truly like listening to what's going on, then I realize this could, I can see now, oh, the reason why this might be a problem is because I know what their past is. I know what their past is. So I think that reading people, getting to know people, listening to people, observing, and then that way you can be a leader by stepping in at the right time. Mm-hmm. Now, we're not talking about, this is not theory. I mean, I think to kind of protect the innocent or the guilty, a lot of examples that we use, I know who you're talking about. You know who I'm talking about, but we don't use those names on the air. And we're not going to use names now. But this is a real life thing that happens all the time, because you've just had, in the last few days, you've had people reach out to you because of leadership issues with personnel. Yeah.
I think that's kind of the honor when you're a trustworthy person. You might give good advice, but you might be the listen guy or a lady. And so for you leaders out there, I got 2 calls from very successful leaders this week and said, hey, I need some time. I need you to coach me through this. And it was about people. On occasion, it's a system or a process or a product or competition or something, business subject. But when it's people, it feels like leaders want or need that coach to say, have you thought about this? Have you approached it this way? So I had the privilege, Craig, of working with 2 leaders. I didn't get to work with the people, but I helped the leader kind of think of ways to approach it. Mm-hmm. In fact, tomorrow, Friday, I'll get a call in with that leader, just say, how did it go? And they actually already said, yeah, that was just salve to the wound of these people. Whatever, it just worked. They were almost like, that worked. And I think as leaders, we have to be daring. Yes. These people are coming to work. They're bringing stuff with them. They're bringing stuff home from work they're kind of squeezing in 24 hours. And sometimes people explode. They get irritated. They get frustrated. They get hurt feelings. They're super sensitive. And sometimes leaders are like, okay, enough with the sensitive Sally stuff. But you do have to pay attention. And I had the privilege, and the coaching value is just more apparent now than ever with people, whether it's people working from home, whether it's people commuting really far, trying to find a job, balancing home and family life. So I've just had the privilege of doing some coaching already at a high level with some folks just this week, spontaneously. Yep. So as leaders, be available and be careful, because you don't want to side with the leader if the leader's in cahoots or in conflict with another staff person. Yep. But I just had a blast, Craig. It really is our heart.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's the heart of Maximized Leadership. Yeah. And so what we try to do with the Craig and Greg show is really talk about general principles, but we want to be able to talk to you specifically about your situation. We want to listen to what is going on with you, and then use the years of experience that we've had and the wisdom that sometimes we've gained rather painfully to be able to share with you. Do you want to
show the war wounds?
No, I try not to show those off too often.
By the stripes.
But on our website, Maximize Leadership, there's a couple of different ways that you can get in touch with us. Right on the main page, there's a form that you can fill out to just kind of ask a general question. We also have a link at the top that talks about our coaching huddles, where we get together with small groups of leaders and we really go deep with them and go very specific with their issues. And there you can read some more information on that link, and you can also fill out a form on the bottom of that page to be able to reach out to us to get some more information. That's where we want to get specific with you. We also want you to be able to submit questions to us. So whether it's there on the website, or if you want to tweet at us at Maximize Podcast and say, here's an issue that I'm dealing with, we can address that in an upcoming episode. So think of us as a resource. We want to be here to be able to help you navigate these issues. We don't want you to just manage problems. We want you to be able to lead through these problems successfully. That's what we're here to help you do. So reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you, and we will be around with another episode soon that hopefully brings some great wisdom to you as you move forward with your leadership. Talk to you soon.
Get in touch with Craig and Greg through Twitter at Maximize Podcast or at MaximizeLeadership.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of The Craig and Greg Show.